ආයුබෝවන්. Welcome to the SciTalk Lab with Saree Scientist podcast channel and YouTube channel. අපේ රටේ විද්‍යාඥයින්ගේ අපේ රටේ විද්‍යාවේ කතා හොයාගෙන යන මම මානසී තිසරමාලි වීරතුංග. I am a Sri Lankan science journalist and I am a Sri Lankan PhD student in biology, currently studying at University of Florida, USA. Joining with me today is Dr. Mahasen Ranatunga, the director of Sri Lanka Tea Research Institute, Talawakele. There is a special reason that I invited Dr. Mahasen Ranatunga for this discussion. The Sri Lanka Tea Research Institute just celebrated its centenary, a century of excellence in tea research in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, sir, for joining with me today.
Okay, thank you, Mansi. Thank you for the opportunity and let me start this way. I'm attached to the Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka. So the Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka is the only national research institute mandated for undertaking research on tea in Sri Lanka. So our main objective is to develop the necessary technologies for the tea industry, starting from land selection, then planting, maintenance, then producing good tea, then up to the consumer level. And once you consume a tea, what would happen, what are the health benefits? So, from planting, harvesting, manufacturing, and finally, up to the point of consumption, there are a lot of activities or the technologies involved. So, we are mandated for generating those technologies. So, in a nutshell, the Research Institute of Sri Lanka is I would say the National Research Institute in Sri Lanka undertakes research on tea. So, as the director of the institute, my main function is the research management. That means we have a strategic plan. Every 5 years we used to prepare this strategic plan. So, I'm responsible for conducting activities in the strategic plan, coordinating among scientists and supporting staff.
So, Dr. Mahasen, you said even when you were explaining about your work to Sri Lankan students, not many knew about what you do. And I think a lot of students, we talked about that earlier also, that a lot of Sri Lankan students do biological science for A-levels hoping to go into medicine and then dental, and later on they get into agriculture. So how would you explain for someone, and I think that's because a lot of people know what a doctor do and what a veterinarian or a dentist do, but a lot of people don't know what you can do with agriculture. So how can you explain your a regular day at your work to someone to say what your job looks like?
Yeah. So that is the hardest task I ever faced. Because I had to explain several locations to general public, I would say the general public, my day-to-day work. It was a very tough task. Because as you said very correctly, even if I take my case, it is by chance. Not that I wanted to become an agriculturalist, as you said very correctly. So that we studied biology, then by chance only we were chosen actually. Then we started learning agriculture. Then only we got to know this much of opportunities are there. Even during our advanced level curriculum also, we never knew that we have this type of courses in agriculture faculties. Now the situation may be different, but during our time, truly speaking, no. So, it was a tough task for us when we entered into the faculty also, because when we realized we had to learn a lot of things. So the very common saying in the faculty is you learn everything except agriculture. So sometimes some used to tell, except dancing and music, you have to do everything. Those two are very common sayings in the faculty. But the thing is, it's very difficult for us to go out and say, the biggest task is in Sri Lanka. People still believe, I believe, they know the best profession is medicine. The other one, if you follow mathematical stream, then the engineering is the only the recognized, reputed occupation.
If you do arts, law.
So, I could remember that time our dean, and the very first occasion we met him, he used to tell about agriculture. If you happen to explain your village colleagues that you have selected for agriculture, so sometimes they used to tell that means they feel even agriculture is even inferior than arts degree. So that is a very pathetic situation, being an agriculture country, and the positioning of this agriculture degree and the agriculture is profession. I think we went wrong somewhere. But when I did my masters in India, so when I went to India, that is after joining the institute, then when I mentioned my fellow students that I am a researcher, then they were surprised, and asked from me, so how did you get a job immediately after your basic degree as a researcher? That means in India, scientists and research professions are well taken.
Yes.
Sometimes it's equal with this. They have IAS, that is Indian Administrative Services. So that they say sometimes it's competitive with even IAS. So they say, then I was very young that time, so they were surprised to see I got a government job in a government institute as a researcher. So then they said it is our dream to become a researcher or scientist in a government job. And fortunately I had the opportunity to join a leading agriculture university in India. So it was a very good university, and all over the Indian students were there. So their target was to complete their masters, then write for this agriculture service exams. That's a very competitive exam, very well paid job, very well recognized job. And then only I felt very pathetic about my situation. So the first thing is we have to create that type of so the occupational, the recognition should be there. Prestige should be there. Whatever is said and done, at the end of the day, that also matters too. So everybody wants to get a good reputed for the very well recognized occupation. So otherwise we cannot attract merit students or qualified students. So then they will not think of getting into this train. So they will end up with teaching sometimes because they say it's very well recognized. So because in my real life experience, I share two real life experiences. My real life experiences. The first thing during our marriage, at the time of marriage, there's a place to write your occupation. So I had to struggle explaining my occupation to registrar, because when I said it's operation and she didn't understand anything. Then I told her this is Mekavilla Agriculture Department. Then anyhow she wrote it's operation and so that was one time. Then immediately after joining this position as a research assistant, immediately after graduation, I happened to hire a lorry for something to transport. And that person, the driver person was asking from me. Then I told him I just graduated, then found a job, and then he said, now where are you working? Then I said, I was a little bit boasting that time because I just got the job, and then I said I am attached to the leading research institute of Sri Lanka, it's working on tea. Then he asked from me, so what type of work you do there? Then I explained him, we are the National Institute who generates information on tea, we do all research and development. then I blah blah blah. I was just explaining him. So once I finished everything, I moved in and Palad Magadia Barala, Udira Sama Kamera Maraka, and everything with a content man. Campus out to Ramu, like an individual camera. Then I stopped telling anything about it. But that is the real situation again. They don't know about these type of professions also available. So we have to make it equal. We have to make general public aware about this researcher profession, agriculturist profession, scientist profession. So to answer your question, therefore it's very the normal routine, yes. In our case, we have some set programs because before now I am little bit involved in this research management activities. So most of our activities are on administrative and management activities. But before I took over this position, I was purely a scientist, the researcher. So that time actually what I really enjoyed in my profession was it's a very I had the freedom and it was very liberal job because I didn't have to stick to 8 to 4 schedule hours. Because I can, most of the time my work starts early morning and it goes up to midnight. Because I did mostly molecular biology work, so when I start running a gel, so I cannot stop it. So most of the times the working time is the time of the mid time or the early morning. So that was a very good time and that was a very good time I really enjoyed. That's the flexible working hours, the flexible working times are there, but now it's not the case because since I have to manage these research management activities, now I have to strictly work on these office hours also. But generally what I believe, if you want to become a researcher, if you want to continue your career as a researcher, you have that freedom. Because in research activities, it's mostly thinking. Sometimes 90% of your work or the time you have to devote for analyzing things. So you cannot have set timelines for thinking. Because I personally believe the best time in most of my innovations or the most of my better ideas I get early morning, especially the time I spend at the bathroom. That is the time where I get the minimum disturbance. I don't take my phone also inside. So that is the best time I can have a fresh mind and I can think. So that is what I really enjoy. So now since I mostly involved in research management activities, previously I full-time involved in research and the research activities only. So that is the most important thing you can enjoy in your life. So anybody who wants to become a researcher, that freedom should be there, and freedom is there. Since we have to follow certain government guidelines, we have to maintain these attendance registers and other things, the formalities are there. But generally, you cannot put some boundaries and ask work. So that freedom is there. So generally, our routine work, that's why I'm about to tell you, so that we cannot say an exact routine. It always varies, day by day it varies.
And sometimes for each person also.
Varies for each person also. Because sometimes I could remember when I did my masters, it was again molecular biology. But sometimes all 24 hours work is lost at the end of the day. Sometimes when you run a gel, you will not get even a single bag. So all your 24 hours is lost. But no, again the following day morning we start our work. So the beauty is you don't have a strict schedule, no strict routine. So it's always you are free to adjust your work. So that is the advantage I see doing these agriculture jobs. And the other thing, though I said it was my chance, but once I started my career, I really started liking it. Truly speaking, I didn't even planted even a flower before I started my career. But when I meet one of the leading breeders, so the leading rice breeder in Sri Lanka, Dr. Jayanta Dhanapala. So he was attached to the IRI, and during my early career at the TRI, I met him. So the first lesson, when I told that I just joined the institute, the first lesson he taught me was, if you want to become a good breeder, the profession is breeder, tea breeder. So if you want to become a good breeder, you have to learn to talk to plants. First I didn't get it. Then I asked from him, sir, what did you tell, sir? Then he said, no, what I wanted to tell you, if you want to become a good breeder, you have to understand the language plants speaks, not that you speak. So you have to be with plants, you have to understand the language of plants. So that message, it got stuck in my mind. Then I realized what he taught. Then I used to spend with these plants. So spending time with plants is 1,000 or a million times better than spending time with people. So that enjoyment is always there when you become an agriculturist. That is always there, and most of the things you can visualize. So that most of the times we do applied research. So where the outputs are tangible. So most of the times you can directly deal with farmers. Since we are more into applied type of research, so then that is also a part of our life. In our routine, we have some time to meet our clients also, not daily, but in our routine, yes, that is also part of our routine. So I would say that is my routine.
Tea is one of the main industries in the country, and you said how it is important, how the work you do is important for the industry, and how do you take it to the general public? You do research at the research institute, and how do you take it out to the non-scientific people? How do you do the communication?
Yeah, sure. So I think when it comes to our direct clients or the stakeholders, we have very formal mechanisms. In the sector, it's a well-organized agriculture. If you consider other agriculture sectors in the country, I can say the tea sector is the one which is very well organized. Therefore, we have very formal mechanism with our clientele. Across the value chain, we have a large number of stakeholders involved. So the formal mechanisms are there for those stakeholders. But when it comes to general public, I would say we don't have any formal mechanisms. Most of the times only one. Sometimes we usually open our institute for general public. So time to time they used to visit us. So we generally introduce them about the main activities and the main technologies what we have developed and how they are using in the tea industry. So that is how we generally meet general public. Right now we don't have a formal mechanism like Department of Agriculture, because you must have come across Department of Agriculture. They have their radio channels, they have their set programs, and they have some scheduled programs in mass media, televisions as well as radio channels. But right now we don't have that kind of a mechanism. So mostly I would say on demand. This year is a little bit different and important for us since we are celebrating our centenary. So here, to mark these centenary celebrations, we are planning to do some mass media programs. So therefore, we have requested some slots from TV, television and radio channels, and we used to conduct some programs, but they are not very outside the routine programs. So the answer I can give you is we don't have a scheduled program where we can reach mass for the general public.
Do you think that this is information that should reach the general public other than the direct spread, like the stakeholders? of the research that you do you think it should reach the general public as well on a more frequent basis?
Yes, because I strongly believe, because we always post that in Sri Lanka we produce the best orthodox black tea in the world. Actually, we produce, no argument on that. But the problem is, when you talk to a general or the consumer or general public, you can see most of them, they are not aware about this. So even if you ask from them whether they know we produce this orthodox or the best quality orthodox black tea in the world, and some of them have not yet tasted them. So they don't know the difference between this best quality orthodox tea and what are the inferior quality black teas, I would say. As I will mention black tea. So to a certain level, not to a certain level, majority of the Sri Lankans, they are not aware about the teas we produce in Sri Lanka. So therefore, there's a huge gap between the research information or the technologies we generate and the awareness among the general public. And the best example, I would say, most of the times when I happen to meet this general public who visits our institute, the first question or the first comment from them is, how do you identify a best quality tea? So that means majority of the Sri Lankans, they don't have a chance to taste best quality tea. So we know the 90% of the production we export, only 5% is for the domestic market. So that 5% also, we are sure, majority doesn't know about the quality and how to evaluate the quality and taste a good cup of tea. So that is one thing. The second thing, even among the consumers, I would say the general public who knows that Sri Lanka produces the best orthodox tea, they don't know how to prepare a good cup of tea. Those are not scientific things but very general things. They don't know how to select good tea and how to prepare a good cup of tea. So that information also we can say there's a huge gap. So those are not very high caliber scientific things or high level scientific things. Those are the very general things I have experienced during my career. They don't know that we are producing best orthodox tea in the world, and they don't know how to produce a good cup of black tea. So it shows that we need to have a proper mechanism or some regular mechanism to reach these consumers or the general public to make them aware about the things they have here. Just to add you, but if you see countries like Japan, China, they have their own tea culture. So from childhood they know about tea, they learn about tea, they experience about tea. So that is not happening in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, have you seen that in other tea growing countries? Like, do you see that happening, that information conveyed to the general public that here is Sri Lanka?
Yes, Marcy, because I know that the same example, if I take Japan and China, you will get a lot of tea schools.
Yeah.
So those tea schools exclusively for teaching tea. Not only preparing tea, they will talk about the history of tea. Because that China is having this large, more than 4,000, 5,000 years of history. So they teach about their history, why it is important for that country, and importantly, they have their own tea culture, which is not in Sri Lankan situation. We never talk about Sri Lankan tea culture. So those are the two popular countries, China and Japan. But nowadays, even countries like Korea, Turkey, and those countries also, they are talking about tea, and they are in the process of developing their own tea culture. So very recently I happened to meet one Turkey scientist. So the main thing she said was, tea is a religion for us. So that's what she used to tell all the time. So we consume Ceylon tea, and tea is a religion for us. That itself shows the place they have given for tea.
Yeah.
which is not even in Sri Lankan context.
Yes.
So, and the other Middle East countries also, they have it's not maybe not common tea cultures, but they have their own unique tea cultures. So, where they have more opportunities to learn about tea, talk about tea, get to know about tea, which is lacking in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
The problem is nobody recognizes it as a tea culture.
Yes.
Then that may be one of the reasons why our people are not very interested about this, getting some information or getting knowing about tea, those kind of things, I would say.
Yes, because when my friend from USA visited last month,
Yeah.
one of her first questions was why she sees so many on the roadside. There are so many boards with Nescafe sign.
Yes,
I thought Sri Lanka is a tea drinking country. She asked,
Yeah.
why do you have so many Nescafe signs?
Yeah. That's true. I think we don't have that kind of a program. So the early actually Nestea is an alternative for Nescafe, but earlier Nestea, the black tea for Nestea also imported from India, but now the things are better, and now Sri Lanka, within the country itself, we produce black tea necessary for this Nestea. But I agree with you. I mean, you will not see boats of tea, very rarely you see. And but if you happen to visit this urban areas or the Colombo, Kandy or the other places, you will see a lot of coffee shops.
Yes.
But very, very rarely you find some tea shops.
Yeah.
But if you go to India, it's other way around. You can see a lot of chai shops are there. Masala chai shops are, I think they are opening in most of the Western countries also, competing with these coffee shops.
Yeah.
So that way, yes, I think we have to accept that we are not doing that much of work to popularize tea even within the country also.
Yes. And have you had the chance to so you said in Turkey they said they consume Ceylon tea and they consider it like a religion. Have you had the chance to communicate with similar in Turkey or in other countries with media and journalists about Ceylon tea with on international platforms?
A couple of occasions I had the opportunity to discuss with them, couple of columnists and couple of journalists. Because most of the times they know about Ceylon tea, and sometimes countries like Japan, sometimes they don't know. If you say you are from Sri Lanka, they don't know. But they know Kocha. Kocha is tea, or Ceylon Kocha. That they know that looks so that sounds like Ceylon tea is popular in those countries. Sometimes they don't know it is produced from Sri Lanka. Previously it was Ceylon, so that they know the name Ceylon. So it's always Ceylon tea. And a couple of occasions I had some chances to talk with some journalists, one Canadian journalist who resides in US, I guess. So when I happened to talk to him, what he said was, even in US, some parts of US also the iced tea is popular and they are using Ceylon tea for that iced tea. So it looks like most of the places the Ceylon tea is available. But to answer your question, I had limited opportunities to talk with them. So most of the times the message I got from talking to them, they are aware. I mean, the people are aware and the consumers from those countries also are aware, but only thing they don't know that is produced from Sri Lanka and exported from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Most of the times they know sometimes the brand name.
Yeah.
So they don't know, maybe it's Lipton, or maybe it's blended with Ceylon tea.
Yes.
So they don't get pure Ceylon tea most of the times in their supermarket shelves. So I believe that information has not reached to that consumer stratas. They don't know that it is coming from Sri Lanka. Though they have consumer, they are consuming Ceylon tea. There's a gap between that also I agree. Yeah.
And how has been what's the challenge to do that? The challenge, what is it, like
Yeah.
of funding or?
Yeah, I put it this way. The main challenge what I experienced is we know that now new generation is good and new generation is educated, and they are the computer literacy as well as language literacy also better. But when you see all the generations in Sri Lanka, they are still the languages also, they are still fluent with their mother tongue only. So the main barrier what I see here, maybe I'm wrong, but this is my personal view, is we don't have what can I say? We don't have good vocabulary. So the glossary is to communicate or pass these messages to native people. So that I find as a major barrier in Sri Lankan context for popularizing of science. Because I have seen Japan, China, so most of the time they are not fluent in English. But when it comes to the subject matter, they are very, very sharp and they are very fluent. The reason is it's available. It's available in their native language. Even if it is not available, they have translation facilities. So they used to translate all English documents and they will get the message. But when it comes to our case, I'm sure both Tamil and Sinhala, we don't have good glossaries. Even myself finding difficulties to explain certain things in a very simple language because we don't have Sinhala terms. Even I believe even Tamil also same. Whatever the terms available are more complicated than English terms. Nobody will understand. So that is, I personally believe that may be one major reason or the major barrier for us to popularize this science among. This may be common for even other scientific thing also. Tea, I am 100% sure, because very difficult to explain somebody because we don't know the correct term. So we have to, sometimes the English term is better than this, the available singular glossary or the singular term. But I personally feel when I see Japan and China, that have contributed a lot for their scientific development. Because anybody can get any journal written in their language, their native language. Because what matters at the end of the day is knowledge. Language is one thing, language is important, but the problem is if they are more conversant with their native language, they should have equal opportunity to get that information. Language shouldn't be a barrier for anybody to get that knowledge. So that is not available in our situation. So I feel that is one major barrier we are having. Because recently also I got a comment from smallholder farming in Sri Lanka, that 75% of the production is coming from these smallholders. So most of them speak their native language or either Sinhala or Tamil. But the main claim from that person is most of your technical materials are in English. So we cannot read them and get some idea. So that barrier is there. Even when you translate it, that translation will complicate it. So it's going to be a very complicated translation. So I feel that is a major barrier because I know some people, even some of our friends also, they are very good in native language. They are very good blog writers also. But the problem is, when they happen to write in the native language, they don't have a glossary. They don't have a vocabulary. So they are struggling with writing good articles. So I personally believe that is where our science has to think. So that always we have to go with the international language, no argument on that. But at the same time we have to cater, because we cannot change the older generations down to the new generation. We know they are fluent in English and they will understand in they can manage, but at the same time we should not forget about the elderly population or the middle-aged people. So we have to cater their request also. So I believe that is the major challenge. Funding, of course, Yeah, sometimes yes. Sometimes there may be some funding issues also to get a very peak times in most of the mass media. It's very huge. It's very low costly because I think we have to pay a huge amount of money to get these bills. So that is also another reason. And production of this audiovisual material is also very expensive. So that also matters more than that. But what I believe is non-availability of good vocabulary or glossary native language I find as a major barrier for this gap.
Journalistic platforms to improve, to get your research more out into the community if you are to make any suggestions?
So I have one suggestion, Mansi, because what I experience most of the times, so sometimes back tea was its whole curriculum. But it was for, I think it's for below O levels, I guess. But I'm not sure whether it is right now also it is there or not. But I think sometimes back it was there. So what I feel, when what I learned from some Chinese and Japanese colleagues, most of their schools they used to teach tea. So then that has become part of their lifestyle. So here also what I believe, at least, I don't know whether during our time we had a subject called social studies, where we learn history, geography, plantation agriculture. Most of the subjects were there. So there we just touched tea. I remember, I have a vague memory. So at least if we can teach tea as a subject, at least for some one term or one semester, I don't know the time period. Because why I say that thing, this is my real experience I am sharing with you. So I did my postdoc in Japan. So I happened to meet a lot of Sri Lankan students there. So sometimes they are asking from me when I meet them, where are you from? Then I say, because then I used to tell them I am attached to the Tea Research Institute. So you won't believe, some of them told me, where is Talavakale? Where are you from? When I say Talavakale, sorry, they don't know. Okay. So then when I said them, I am from Tea Research Institute.
Oh, even the Sri Lankan students?
Sri Lankan students, they don't know. Yeah. Then they asked from me, so do you have anything to do attached to a research institute? Because all of them are either master students or postgraduates. So they also involved in research activities. Then they used to ask from me, so what type of research you do there? Then when I explain this is what we do and we produce the best, best orthodox tea, then they say, we don't know that thing. Otherwise we would have given Ceylon tea to our supervisors, because Japan they used to drink a lot of tea. So then they said, it's good that you told us, so that tomorrow we will bring Sri Lankan tea and we will start drinking there. Because they are the best ambassadors for us to disseminate this message. Every year we know large amount of Sri Lankan students going north. So we can use them as the best ambassadors to disseminate this message.
I take tea to my supervisor here, and my supervisor, since he started drinking Ceylon tea, he says this is definitely better than the tea we get here.
Exactly, because I'm sure even your case also, I don't think you can get the best quality Ceylon tea there. So that way, if we can introduce this at least as a subject, then generally they will get some idea about at least Sri Lanka produces tea. So they don't need to get all the information about types of teas and other things. But at least that will, that will be in their mind at the time they leave from the country. Then they can at least take some Ceylon tea and they can pass that message among other fellow students. So when it happened to me once or twice, then I always explain them, don't buy other teas, this is the best tea we produce in Sri Lanka. So the next time when you go to the laboratory, then I used to bring Ceylon tea and I shared with them. Then they say, it's good that you told us, definitely we will start drinking Ceylon tea in our laboratories. So that is the good message we can pass without putting in any extra effort. So that is what we could do from local situation, or the locally we could popularize among students. We can popularize these ideas among them. So you can, because the people know, then they know, yes, Sri Lanka produces good quality tea. Then when they happen to talk to their laboratory colleagues or the lab mates, then they can at least tell them, no, why don't you try Ceylon tea and Sri Lankan tea? Because the coffee may be available and coffee may be popular. That's a different story. When they happen to have a cup of tea, then they can introduce our tea. So, and most of the times, we know that these youngsters, they can get information from this social media. So, if we can make them aware about this type of information, they can make aware their parents. So that is another way of passing these type of messages to this general public. Because I know certain areas they have access to this mass media also, but even within the country also it's very irregular. I don't think even we select this leading mass media. Now the people are moving away from mass media and they are more into these social media platforms, and they are using these social media platforms to get latest updates. So even if we use this mass media, I'm not sure whether we are in a better way to disseminate this message among themselves. So what I believe is we should target these school children, and that is the best place we can teach them. That is the best place we can expose them. Then they will, if they are interested, they will continue exploring these type of things. All the communities, or all the people, or the elderly communities, of course, they are not very much literally handling the social media or other things. Then for them, actually, we can use even newspapers, even the radio programs and other type of mass media. But again and again, I am telling we have to think of these school children.
Because
as a research institute, I believe, and we also have to explore opportunities. Most of the times we are waiting for opportunities, and even to answer your previous questions also, I told that most of the times foreign journalists, not that we explored the opportunities, they explored the opportunities and we just facilitated them. But I believe now we are on crossroads, and now it's our turn, and we have to explore more opportunities, and we have to make use each and every opportunity to popularize these type of things among general public. So from institute side, I believe yes, that is part of the institute also.
Like a lot of people think when you are a scientist, you only sleep like 2 hours a day. It's a very stressful job. How do you maintain your work-life balance? Do you have any hobbies outside your job?
Yeah, sure. Actually, yes, I think you have to have. I think otherwise, true. Sometimes yes, sometimes you have to work continuously, and you have to sacrifice our sleep. Yes, that is true. Especially when you write some journal articles, or when you continuously do some laboratory work, and especially when you want to complete certain tasks, yes, of course you have to sacrifice your personal life. But overall, what I say, you have to have a balanced life. Otherwise, when you have a balanced life, only it will give you good opportunity to become a good scientist. Because the science, as I told earlier also, you have to have a very good thinking capacity, and you have to have very good analytical capacities. So it's always better to have some good hobbies. So in my case, actually my workplace is away from my home. So 5 days I'm staying there. Only weekend only I used to join my family. So most of the times place where my institute or the research institute, we have a recreation club there. So we used to play. We have some indoor games there, the badminton, table tennis. So we used to spend some time on playing. So that will energize you, that will break this monotonous style of work. Those days I used to be a very good reader, but nowadays, truly speaking, can't find some time. But I used to watch movies whenever I have a free time. Used to watch movies and used to listen to songs also. I can't sing or I can't play any instrument, but I like to go there. Very much like to listen to songs. Again, reading also, I believe that also helps you a lot, because that also creates some instinct, I believe. Because I could remember when I was a kid, we used to read a lot of these horror novels and adventure novels. So that also gives you some, you will become inquisitive in certain things. So I think reading, if you can maintain as a hobby, and automatically it will improve your writing skills also. When you read a lot of books, you will be exposed to new words, your vocabulary will be improved. So if you can maintain reading as a habit, I think for a scientist that's going to be a good hobby. But again, similar type of work, it's always better to have some physical activities also. And again, the watching movies also, I really enjoy, because when I want to watch movies, I don't have any choice. That means I used to watch all rubbish, I would say. So starting from comedies and goes to horror movies and the serial killer movies. There is one more silent.
That's my husband's favorite.
Mine is also same way. Yeah, because those are very analytical. Yes. They are very, very analytical. So that always encourages me to watch those movies. So likewise, I don't have any choice, I would say. And especially sometimes I used to watch even Tamil movies even without even understanding a single word. But the stories are really nice. Sometimes they used to talk very high science. Sometimes I think the certain terminology I learned from there, watching Tamil movies, and the certain things they discussed in their movies are highly scientific. So that is again another good hobby where it will relax your mind. At the same time, it will show you some other way of thinking. It will expand your thinking pattern also. So those are two good hobbies I believe scientists through the research can have, the reading and watching some movies. So, and it will relax you also. And yeah, those are the main things. And whenever I get a chance, I used to join with my wife. Because the family is important, I would say. Because without their support, you can't be a good scientist or researcher, because you have to free your mind. You have to have a good, relaxed mind if you want to do research or scientific. So your family is the strength if you want to perform these type of professions.
So the last question I have for you is, what would you say to your younger self or to any young person?
Yeah, the thing is, I think what I wanted to tell, it's like that. I think we know, I think even some parts of my life also, yes, we have all the time, we have ups and downs in our life. Sometimes we also, it's like that I never regretted upon selecting this profession or career, because truly speaking, this is my 25th year at the institute. Last 25 years, I never applied for any other job. So I never even look at any advertisements or the vacancies, because I really like this job. I know most of my colleagues, even the colleagues join with me at the institute now. No more they left the institute. thing is, what I still believe, this is a profession. If you have the right commitment, sky is the limit. If you have the right commitment, if you devote yourself, and if you have certain targets, so we know we have our difficulties. We have financial issues. We don't have technologies. We have to get cutting edge technology. We don't have access to literature. We have to struggle. We have to go get them from this grey market. I have one professional way of getting things we have to do. But the problem is still within these limitations. Also, you can do something. So this is a good profession where you can enjoy your life. So, but only thing, it is a waiting game, because the things will not come overnight. You have to wait, you have to learn things, you have to listen to your superiors, you have to learn from your colleagues, you have sometimes from your peers. So it's a waiting game. That is another good advice given by my seniors when I joined the institute. So they say, living in TRI is a waiting game. You will not get everything overnight. You have to wait for certain things. Sometimes you have to wait for opportunities. And don't try to leave the place. Try to survive. Try to explore opportunities. And it's a waiting game. So that is also one good lesson one good advice I got from my seniors. So all the time I didn't set short-term targets. Most of the times I used to set long-term targets. But the problem, I know this may be not applicable with the today's generation. But in a career like the researcher's career, sometimes you cannot fix short-term targets. Sometimes you have to either moderate timelines you have to keep. So, honestly, it's a good profession. There are no bad or good professions. It's the way you enjoy your life. It's the way you look at your profession. And the final thing is, if you deserve, you will get it. So, whatever the things we get, those are the things we deserve. So, I think in the famous movie, the Slumdog Millionaire, then the storyline says it's written. That's what we deserve. No? So in that case, I think even for younger selves also, what I can tell is whatever the things or whatever the career you select, try to enjoy it. Try to enjoy it. If you feel you cannot enjoy your career, it's better to leave. Because we cannot say everybody will suit for these professions. Because that if you can try, but if you feel that you are not suited or you cannot adjust yourselves to this, it's better to leave and select a better career which you could enjoy. Other than that, this is a good profession. Though it's not given as a priority or the equal status within the country. But globally, what I realize is a very well recognized profession. So you can feel when you go out from the country, even within the country, within the subcontinent also, the countries like India, Bangladesh, they very well recognize this career. So in that case, I would say I have no regret on selecting this as my career. So that is the message I will give any youngster who is willing to join this career. It's a good career. Try it. If it suits for you, not leave, no problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is actually you have to enjoy it. We know our limitations. We have to understand the country's limitations. But if you have the right commitment, I still believe the sky is the limit. You can see the very recently that of Chandrasekhar got this WIPO global award. So I think this is the first time we grab that type of power. So that means within these limitations also our scientists or our researchers can perform. So this is a brain game. Not always infrastructure would facilitate you. At the end of the day, it's brain game. It's the message I have to share.